What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The David Lopez Show, presented by Passion Park ENT. You know what it is. I hope you all had a good weekend, and let's get this week started off right. It's Monday morning, getting this episode out right away to start this crazy week of sports out, because it really is. Yesterday my mind exploded. Or should I say my brain exploded trying to watch every single sporting event that was going on pretty much at the same time. And I love it, as we've been talking about. It's pretty cool. Just everything is going on. So we're gonna talk about a bunch of sports, bunch of crazy shit that happened yesterday. Anthony Davis hits a buzzer beater. Bears squeak out a victory. Cam Newton almost squeaks out a buzzer beating victory. Just a bunch of shit happened. So we're gonna get into it. Before that, I'm just going to say, go check out my music. Go to thedavidlopez.com. All my brand new stuff, always there. I'm trying to keep that site updated every week. And same with the Passion Park website. So if you go to passionparkent.com, new episodes of the podcast, I do a new performance of one of my songs every single week. And then just new music, new content, new videos, new shows, whatever, all that stuff. So go to passionparkent.com to check all that. Let's just get right into the goddamn show.
David Lopez is the name. It's my show. Welcome to it.
I'm waking up here. This is really early in the morning, Monday morning, as I'm recording this intro. Today's episode is me and KT talking hoops. We talked about the conference finals, but we recorded this before. Now, I knew this was going to happen, so we recorded this conversation like Sunday afternoon, so right after the Bears game, but before the Lakers Nuggets game 2, right? And Anthony Davis hits this insane buzzer beater as the Lakers win by 2. They were down by 1, so they would have fucking lost. Now, those are the real heartbreakers. The buzzer beaters where the other team was winning by 1, those are just like, that can send, this series could be a sweep now. Who knows? I don't think it will be. I gotta say, like, I was texting KT right during this game. I was just like, I'm so impressed with the Nuggets. I know they lost, and what I woke up this morning is I'm watching the replay of Inside the NBA the next morning, which is phenomenal. Inside the NBA is the best show for basketball, but it's just Mason Plumlee. It's a defensive. If you haven't seen the final play where Anthony Davis hits the 3, he just comes off a curl and gets it, and Mason Plumlee doesn't trail him. Mason Plumlee came in the game to play defense on Anthony Davis and then chose not to play defense. I had an argument. It wasn't an argument. It was a conversation with a friend on Twitter about how NBA players refuse to switch and they just like don't battle over it. And it's like, the reason we had that argument was because of what was the other buzzer beater that happened? Oh, the Kawhi Leonard, Luka Doncic, Kawhi switched off, and then Reggie Jackson's on him all of a sudden. And you're like, why are you guys giving up these switches so easily? And that was even, I don't know if that's more egregious because that was like such an open play you could do it. This was just so quick. But Plumlee, like, he tries to say Grant jump out, but he never makes an attempt. Long story short, Anthony Davis gets a clean look. I mean, he's a 7-footer who can shoot threes, and he gets a clean look at the basket. Jokic is so goddamn good that he reads it. He read trying to steal the pass and got out to Anthony Davis to contest it all in one motion because of how big and quick he is in realizing the situation. He's obviously not the quickest guy movement-wise, but he does recover and puts a hand up. Anthony Davis hits a tough shot, but that's on Mason Plumlee, man. That last play is on Mason Plumlee. I mean, you'll hear when we talk about the Lakers-Nuggets series and what if we think the Nuggets even have a chance. We both picked the Lakers. So I don't think this game. I mean, this game was huge in the sense that they go 1-1. The Lakers know right now. All right, we're buckling down. We might be in this for a 7-gamer. This could now be a 4 or 5 game series. I know Chuck on Inside the NBA predicted a gentleman's sweep. I predicted Lakers in 6. KT predicted Lakers in 5. I guess I just gave away the teaser, but you'll hear. I mean, I love the Nuggets. So this is what we've been saying. Like, I've been watching this and I'm like, I don't expect them to win or whatever, but I find myself cheering for them constantly. And yes, last night I was definitely like, what the fuck, Mason Plumlee? But it feels like the Lakers are destined to end up in the finals. So we'll see. And then also it was such an awesome night of sports because he hits his buzzer beater, and then if you flip over to Sunday Night Football, and that game just starting to get good, the Patriots and Seahawks, and then we go down to a buzzer beater in that Cam Newton gets stuffed at the line on the 2-yard line, and there was betting implications for a lot of these things. The Patriots that so much wasn't betting implications as it was just like they were down by 5, so they would have had the victory. They would have beat Seattle right there at the goal line. That was Tom Brady was just like watching that like, what do you mean you're gonna run at 1 yard and not get it? Because he got every single sneak. So that I am I just can't get over Mason Plumlee. I just keep thinking about it. It's like 6:30 in the morning. I woke up this morning and I texted my brother when I woke up like, what was he doing? What the hell was he doing? They had a chance to make this a 1-1 series. Now they're going down 2-0. No NBA game tonight, but we go back at it tomorrow. They go back at it tomorrow for game 3. Jokic expended a lot. He scored, I think, the Nuggets' last 12 points. He was on fire. He was dominant. I just really like the Nuggets. I mean, if they can they're so young. You keep Jokic and Murray together. Now they've made this long conference finals run. They're battle tested. They lose a buzzer beater in the conference finals. It's just like a good story. I think they're around for a little bit. And next year with the emergence of the Warriors are going to be right. Warriors are going to be a top 2, top 3 seed again next year. The West is going to be stacked again because the Lakers are going to be right back. Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets are all going to be right there. So and the Clippers, those teams are all going to be. That's like the top 4. And we're not even talking about the Blazers. So once again, I'm already looking forward to the next year's NBA season. But we're in the final 4 of this year's NBA season, and Celtics got a victory to make that series 2-1. So we have a battle there, and we make our predictions and talk about that pretty extensively in this conversation with KT. So yeah, like I said, I am loving what's going on with sports right now. If you're a Chicago fan, Cubs and Sox both are going to go to the playoffs. Who knows? 2020 is crazy. We're hoping that maybe we get a Cubs-Sox World Series this year. I would be all for that, man. That would just be amazing. It would really cap off this year. It would be interesting, I suppose, amongst Chicagoans how that will be handled. But if you guys know me, I've cheered for the White Sox. I've never cheered against the White Sox. I'm, probably more traditionally a Cubs fan because I grew up on the north side. But we went to both games, so I do not cheer against the White Sox. I am very happy for my my White Sox fan friends that are just getting to really enjoy it this year as that team is just dominating. Like I said, the Cubs look like they're going to go to the playoffs, probably win the division, but I don't know. We're not like overly confident in them. But that being said, baseball, you get hot, you can sneak, you can win a title. It can happen, but they're not. I'd be surprised if they did have a really deep postseason run. Like you look at the Dodgers and like those other teams, and you're like, I don't know if they're the same, but nonetheless, having that championship history, they have a chance. They got a fighting chance. So I really love where we're at sports wise right now. It's pretty great. Thursday, I will be recording my my weekly NFL episode where I do my picks. I'm just gonna briefly, I'll tease it right now, and I'll say that not a good week for me pick wise. I think I'm at like 6 right now. We still got the Monday night game, so definitely not a victorious week. Like I said, I'm gonna do this in my NFL show. I'm gonna do this weekly where I every Thursday I do my NFL picks for the week, and I tell you guys what my bets were last week. I'm trying to decide if I should do it this way, where I tell you guys what my bets were, because I'm just gonna, every week I'll make a couple bets for the NFL Sunday, and then I'll tell you guys what they are, or if I should make them in advance. The only thing about me making them in advance is that on Thursday, then I have to decide exactly what I'm gonna bet, and then sometimes I change my mind. So like this weekend, I had 4 or 5 bets, a couple prop bets, and a couple spread bets that I had, and I'm going to detail them on Thursday's episode. I just want to say that thankfully, look, the Bears are 2-0. I'm happy. Now that I'm starting to sports gamble, it's like you got to remember, I want my team to win. So I'm happy that my team just wins games. I got to remember that now that I'm sports gambling. But once again, the Bears missed a field goal that literally they almost lost the game because of a missed field goal. And they lost the spread because of a missed field goal by Cairo Santos. Oh, God. I just had a big parlay, and that pick, thankfully, I don't know if anybody else has had like a bigger parlay. This was a 5-team parlay, and thankfully I got 3 out of the 5 right and not 4 out of the 5, because I got to be honest, if I got 4 out of the 5 right in the parlay and the one wrong was Cairo Santos missing a kick, I would have been so irate. I mean, whatever. Gambling is gambling. You can't do anything about it anyways, but I just knew it in my head when I made the parlay pick. I'm like, watch, everything's going to hit but the fucking Bears. And basically it did, except the Chiefs didn't hit either. So whatever. Chiefs won, but they didn't cover. Anyways, that's just my little gambling tidbit real quick, because the Bears, even when they win, they frustrate you. They almost blew a game to the Giants. They looked like a god-awful team in the second half. The first half, I thought the Bears were going to win by 35. Whatever. We'll do the full football episode on Thursday. I am fully in NBA mode right now still. I'm really excited about where we are in the playoffs. These conference finals are going to be great. I mean, winding down here, nobody would have thought we were going to have the Nuggets against the Lakers here, and then Celtics Heat. Nobody would have really thought that, but it does make sense, I guess. We're really lining up for a Lakers-Celtics finals again for the 400th time in the NBA's history. But it would be a great finals, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. All right, well, without further ado, I'm going to send you over to this fun conversation I had with KT about the NBA Conference Finals. Enjoy! Oh man, well I gotta be. I had to watch the end of the Bears game, and then I had to walk home. It just took a little longer than I thought. I thought I was gonna be here by 3:30. Did you?
Watching that game really, watching the Bears period gives you anxiety, man.
Let me tell you something. Oh God. I mean, we'll keep it brief about the Bears, but that was. I mean, the first half, I thought we were gonna win 35-0.
That's what it looked like, but then of course, the Bears being the Bears, it didn't happen that way.
I'm like. And so, whatever. I don't want to get too much into it, but I got a little parlay bet where there's a bunch of stuff going. The spread was 5.5. And of course, the Bears missed kicker, lost a lot of people some money today.
I'm not used to keep it brief, but just really quick. Is there any Achilles heel that is more glaring that hasn't been fixed than the kicker to the Bears? I can't think of anything that's come on, man.
But the weird thing is it doesn't seem, it's not the person, it seems like the team, because this is the third kicker, and it's also with the quarterback with the Bears. It's something about the team and the position.
Man.
It's just
it's just bad. It's just a bad mix. It's a bad marriage.
That first half, Mitch, I thought that throw he made for that touchdown where he scrambled, I'm like, oh man, he's starting to.
He looked good on that one. But Mitch, he does this thing where he'll look good, and then it's a tale of two halves. It's just like the first game. Tell them 2 halves, and it's look, we just need consistency, and
yeah,
I don't know, man.
You're right. We need consistency. It's crazy though. We're 2-0. 2-0 is we're 2-0.
Lucky.
I know.
Lucky.
No, it is lucky. I'm gonna be honest. It's this 5-team. I don't bet that much, but if this is the only reason I don't win a lot of money, I'm gonna be so upset. I'm gonna be so.
Yo, you have a right to be like you said. He lost a lot of people some money, man.
I'm sure. It's okay. Bears got the win. That should be more happy. That's why I feel so funny that now I'm starting to do these bets, because back in the day, I used to always be that guy, especially when I was playing sports. I was always yo, why, you guys are tripping so much about about how much you win by. It's all about who wins. And now I'm sitting here doing what I I'm like, they won. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah, right, yeah.
And speaking of they won, that all that matters, that's kind of pretty similar for what happened last night in the Celtics, because they almost gave up a big lead. The Heat were within 5 with a minute left.
The Heat are legit, and they are tough. Man, listen. I called that work yesterday. I was I was talking to some guys, and I let them know. I was like, yo, the Celtics are going to win. I didn't see them going down 3-0. It's one of those, the 2-0 hole isn't too, it's tough, but it's too tough to climb out of. And I just thought the Suns would come out. They came out aggressive. They came out with a lot more energy than the Heat did, and I'm saying they were playing for their season. They go down 3-0. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
No, they were favored yesterday. Actually, even gambling wise, they were favored, because I think nobody believed that they were going to go down 3. Because you go down 3-0, that means that series at most is a 5-gamer, and nobody thinks that's going to happen. So I definitely had my money on that too. But so before, we haven't talked in a couple of weeks before the series started. It's weird because the series are staggered between the West and the East, so there's a little ahead. Yeah. I tweeted Celtics in 7, and then I watched game 1 of the series, and I'm like, oh, I think the Heat are better. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know.
Like so, yeah, the Heat definitely look like a better team. They're just so tough, man. I seen this quote Jimmy Butler said a while ago, and he was talking about like he's not the most talented guy, he's not the most athletic guy, but what he is in terms of NBA hierarchy is tough. Every team he's went to, with I would say with the exception of Minnesota, his toughness impedes on the team, and like, I just feel like Miami has like they have the guys around them that kind of they kind of match his intensity, and like he imprint his toughness on them because they're not scared of anybody. And when I say they have so many guys who have chips on their shoulders that can hoop, like it's crazy. Like Duncan Robinson, went undrafted, and you can argue he's one of the best shooters, and that's still in the postseason right now. That was in the postseason,
and he's more than a shooter now, which what people don't understand is like he's a good basketball player.
Yeah, he is, and Jimmy being Jimmy, Goran Dragic, I think it's like we talked about last time, is still supremely underrated, He's having his best playoffs of his career, which is crazy to think about it, but
exactly, he really is.
Exactly, and so like Miami they just look like a much better complete team, and they're just crazy. I think Boston is more talented from top to bottom. Like just Miami is just at the moment they just look much better, well-rounded. They're better coached. They're playing more cohesively. Like we got to see what the next game will bring.
Boston's no, you're absolutely right on all those. I mean, for the Jimmy thing, going to what the Jimmy thing you're saying is like he's definitely not the most talented player, but him and Pat Riley are like the perfect match because like the way their intensity is, it's almost like Pat Riley, like Jimmy Butler is like Pat Riley's like child, like that's like what he would want, exactly what he want, and then like it's a perfect situation for him because he doesn't even have to. He's the only superstar in the NBA who, first off, I don't know if he's a top 15 player. He's still a superstar, which is what's unique. But that doesn't need. He can have 7 shots in the fourth quarter, and you're not looking at his team like, "What are you doing?" It's because he has all this talent around. He has all these scorers around him, and it's almost his job to like he's not a point guard, but he manages people like that. Like he manages around them,
which is unique, right? Because like he isn't like a point forward like a LeBron, like those kind of guys. But his presence and his toughness and like in his mind and everything like that, and his intensity, like those intangibles that like those are things that you can't teach. Those you either have it or you don't, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't teach that. You can't coach it up. You have it or you don't. And he definitely has had it his whole entire time. And it's infectious, it spreads to your other teammates, and like they just got to roll with it. You see what the result is.
That's what I was when this was happening and the Heat were starting to dominate, or when they were going up 2-0. I was just thinking to myself. I think I texted my brother. It was like Tibbs is just at home, just like I told you, motherfuckers. Like I tell like,
and I was talking about this yesterday at work, man. It's like, we think about the Bulls, man. Like, obviously, bad luck is injuries are part of it. And, you can't really avoid those things. But when you look at just Jimmy Butler being who he is, right? He caught flack when every stop he's been at because for whatever reason, they clearly are just trash. When you look at D Rose, obviously his career has been on the spiral and been on the roller coaster, but he was a really solid player over the last season, especially. Like he was really solid. Like again, I wanted the Lakers to get him so bad.
Yeah.
And then I just it's just thing about Chicago sports, man. Like when you look at just all the opportunities that Chicago as a sports city should take, especially looking at the Bears and the Bulls, and then when you look at the direction that the teams and the franchises go in, and look at the missed opportunities that came by, like, it's just really frustrating.
It is frustrating because we're such a bigger. It's funny though because I always think about that too. Like I know that since we're from Chicago, we obviously are complaining about Chicago teams. I know that there's got to be people from other cities that are like, "Would you guys shut up? You won 6 rings in the '90s." But to the Bulls thing. So I was listening to an interesting interview today with. We're gonna get to the Nuggets and the Clippers situation, all that stuff. But I was listening to an interesting interview with the Nuggets president, I think. Maybe he's the GM. I can't remember. But anyways, they're talking about the whole draft process because, Jokic went real late in the draft.
Yeah, really late.
And it was more about them trusting because, like, his Serbian family and his brothers are over there. And they're like, he's getting big contract. All those guys who are drafted from over there are getting big contract offers from those teams over there, too. So, like
huge.
They could easily stay where they're from and make a lot of money and be fine.
Yeah.
So they had to create the relationships and talk to them. And then over years of time where they said, hey, we're going to draft you now. You're going to come over in 2 years. We're going to watch you develop. It's just like a long grooming process. They had like the president was like close with his brothers and all these things that I just have never in my history as a Bulls fan ever heard anything like that in their organization, that they're like friendly with a person's fan or something like that. Like the closest thing I can think of is, well, going to The Last Dance, they talked about Tony Kukoc a little bit.
That was what I was about to say. Tony Kukoc was the only person I think of that they like courted.
Krause. As much as people didn't like
yeah.
Krause, I think he did his work. Like I think he did.
Yeah.
So I think that was the one guy. And then I was going to say, actually, funny enough, is Jimmy Butler, because Tibbs, I know, had a heavy impact in taking him when they took him. And he had a heavy impact in his development. So it really just leads me to, like, obviously you got to have good people in your GM. But I think, like, how important is a good coach that cares?
Man, and may you rest in peace, but John Thompson. Allen Iverson has literally his entire career talking about how John Thompson saved his life, like literally his entire career. And a good coach, like man, who said it? Like, yo, it's obviously, you know, when you're drafting, right, in the draft process, it's important to take the best player available, but sometimes the best player that's available at that time isn't necessarily best for your team. Case in point, look at Markelle Fultz.
Right.
Well, you can argue at the time was the number one pick in the draft. Wasn't drafted to the best situation. Now he's in Orlando. Now he's looking like a much better person. Like a fit, man, and just from top to bottom, especially coaching, is so important. Like you know, what's when you look at guys like Coach Spoelstra, right? Obviously, when you're playing with LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh, 3 Hall of Famers, you know, it's just one of the side effects, especially if they're on LeBron. You don't get the credit. You know, a wet paper bag and Coach LeBron are going to be fine. But once he lost those guys, and you can see how he still kept that team really solid and really at a really comfortable position in terms of his hierarchy in the NBA, coaching is supremely important.
Yeah, it's so important in the in those fringe players, like those players that are like, I mean, first off, I actually think this is probably a high percentage of the NBA. The talent level is so high in the NBA that your point between you could be a 10-year career player and your point could be a 2-year fizzle out, I bet you is pretty close. And that's why it is dependent upon, I mean, you come in and Vinny Del Negro is your coach your first year, and you're not getting any player development, compared to Jokic is drafted and like 3 years later, they're like, hey, we see potential. We know he's fat and out of shape, but don't look at that. Like, it's just like a completely opposite. It could change your whole career. Like,
yeah, yo, it's crazy because, man, when you man, what was I going to say, like, about coaching? Like, oh well, we had this conversation, right, about coaching and about talent level, and I think especially like casual fans and like even the more even I would say even more so casual just basketball players and like, you know, just in general who go, you know, go to Export, go to you know, LA Fitness and just pick up. I don't think people really get how elite the talent level is in the NBA.
Yeah.
Let alone overseas. Like, cause you know, I think David Aldridge, like he did he wrote an article about this a long time ago. It's just like this idea that, you know, a pro level could just go overseas and just be fine. Like there's not an infinite number of jobs overseas, and it's not like I'm going overseas and play ball because I can play at LA Fitness, I can drop 30 in the rec league. Like, not like the talent level for professional basketball on all levels, especially the NBA, is crazy. Like, yeah. even like, I don't know, let's look at Anthony Bennett, where you could argue is probably the biggest bust in NBA history,
at least in recent history, for sure. Yeah,
put him against 99% of people that's on the NBA, he's gonna look like the second coming of LeBron James.
I think you're right. I think that is, so many people in the NBA. The NBA is just another level, and like, Europe, especially those higher leagues, kind of have the same thing where it's like those guys play at another level. And actually, that's what they said about Jokic, which was interesting. Is like, he has that European game, right? So if you compare him to like, you know, Arvidas or Vladi or those kind of guys, right? He has a lot of that, but they also said that they really feel like his game was unlocked in a level at the NBA of how Malone opened up the floor and how the Nuggets play pretty free and they kind of run it through him. It was opened up at a level that doesn't really happen over there either. So there is like, it was like a kind of mix of the two styles that really made him that. I mean, that's the point, though, is there's just so many good, like, I think Jokic is an example of a guy who, if was drafted by the New York Knicks, probably would be playing overseas right now. He'd probably be really good over there because he'd be like, "What the fuck is this?" Oh,
Yeah. Like the going to the right situation is a very overlooked aspect of drafting. And man, like look at Giannis. Like when he came in, and
he's a
you look
great
at
example, actually.
literally in a short time frame of him being drafted, a 2-time NBA MVP in 7 years. Like
Yeah,
it's obviously the players have a huge part of like how bad they want it, right? Like the coach can only get you so far, the organization can only get you so far. You have to do the work. You have to be in the work, putting in the grind. You have to really want to get better. And it's just these guys that were mentioned, they have been a perfect blend of coaching, organization, and they have the talent and the work ethic to unlock that
yeah.
talent.
You broke that down exactly right because it's like when we're talking about coaching like that, you don't want to minimize like the guys have to have it too, and those guys
Yeah,
have it, and like
yeah.
Giannis has that push, and this is a good transition because we haven't spoke since our first real wrong pick of this, which was that Miami did beat Milwaukee. When we last talked, I think Miami was up in the series, and we were both kind of like, I think they're gonna do it, but it was hesitant. Now to see it actually happen, they looked like the better team, and like I said, they've looked really good in the past couple weeks, anyways. But before we break down what the next series looks like, let's talk about where Milwaukee's at, and because like the story has been, is Giannis leaving? He had a meeting with all the GMs and whatnot. I mean, what do you think about, and that he got announced MVP all in this past week? This has all happened to them, which is kind of a weird spiral. NBA's got to work on their timing, right, with the MVP. I don't like it.
I don't like the timing MVP. The whole, I know when they first got announced a couple of years ago, the whole, well, obviously because of COVID it will have, but the whole awards show or ceremony and all that stuff, like I see what they were trying to do, but it was horrible. Like it was like, nah, man. Like they need to scrap the whole thing and really just like announce somebody, just do it early, get it out the way.
Just do it early, because like the problem was there was all these people arguing about LeBron should have MVP, Giannis wouldn't have been MVP, but the voting was, it's like, I don't know if enough people aren't knowing that the voting was in at the end of the regular season. I mean, me and you voted on it a couple of weeks ago. I think we both said Giannis would have been MVP. I think if this comes out at the end of the regular season and we don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, nobody's arguing about this.
Yeah, but see, and the thing about the MVP is, even if you look at just the conversation that's around it, it's so like, you can argue, okay, best player on the best team. Okay, but then what qualifies as best player? Best stats? Okay, cool. Stats. Okay, so then you agree stats are important, and then you agree that your team standing is important, right? And then you look at, well, okay, then you start doing hypotheticals. Well, what if you take this guy off? How's the team looking? And then if that's the case, then you can say, okay, this guy's MVP, even though he doesn't have the best stats. Like it's just like, man, it's just one of those things where like there have been very few times where it's like, okay, everybody in the world clearly knows this guy is the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that, like, other than that, there have been times where you can make the argument that, okay, this guy should have won over this guy. It's so crazy. Like LeBron talked about it yesterday. Yesterday, right? He was like, just the awards voting process is weird. He referenced the 2012, 2013.
Yeah. Well, he's upset that he only got 16 votes, and he said that I think people might not be. You went right into what I was going to say is, do you think people are watching the games or not? Because that's what he said, and then he said, do you think the narrative? Problem is, as a Bulls fan, he is directly talking about Derek.
Yeah. I mean, which is crazy because obviously the Bulls fan at that 2011 season, fantastic. Everybody thought the Bulls and D Rose and all that stuff. We very in love with that time frame and especially that season and that team. But then he referenced that the 2012-2013 season, right? And which he won MVP that year, but Marc Gasol got defensive player of the year because LeBron was in the top 3 defensive player, but Marc Gasol was second team.
It makes no sense. Sense.
That doesn't, like, that just really, like, doesn't make sense. And I mean, even when you look at, which again, okay, let's look at, again, I love Russell, I love Westbrook. He's a fantastic player, and I'm not a Westbrook hater at all. But his MVP season, right, after triple double, historic, fantastic. But did he really deserve it over James Harden? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's where you have to trust. I mean, the voters, I don't even know how many voters it is, but you have to trust that they're doing real homework and watching the games rather than just looking at the numbers, because looking at the numbers, there's a lot of years that James Harden could have won it. So, the 1 year that Jordan didn't win it, the 97 year, Karl Malone won it.
Well, Karl Malone got it, yeah.
A lot of people talk about, they think it was a narrative year, kind of like the Derrick Rose thing where...
Yeah, it's just voter fatigue when they get tired of winning. And And then like going by that same thing, which again is I and again maybe I can admit I'm biased, but when you look at Kobe's years when Shaq left in between, right when he was just going on a tear, people think, oh, he should have more than one MVP, right? But then when you look at if you bring in other aspects of what MVP is, his team wasn't really so hot. They were what seven seed one year, barely made the playoffs another year. Like, and, obviously if you take his team out there, but they're a bunch of D League players at the time, and they're terrible. So you can use the same argument that people make about LeBron, where if you take him off the team, then his team is in the lottery, as been proven every team.
LeBron's going to get the same thing where at the end of his career, they're going to be like, he could have won 12 MVPs, but he won 4.
Yeah, and it's just thing like even just having a conversation about what makes the MVP. There's never going to be a clear like this is the criteria, because the criteria is going to be different for so many people because there are so many other exceptions that you could bring in. So honestly, it's just so crazy.
I think most every year you have a guy who's like Steve Nash or like Derrick Rose or like Russell Westbrook, who just has one of these years. And I mean, the Russell Westbrook year, he was fishing for that MVP. He was fishing to average a triple double. I mean,
he was, which again, it's one of those things where it's like it was historic that he did it for 3 straight seasons, and the season he won, historic, never been done except back by Robinson.
Right.
Probably possibly will be done again, maybe not. But just when you just look at, most people would agree that year. That's probably what was more of a narrative MVP than actual MVP.
I think so too. And then if I remember correctly, the next year he averaged a triple double too, but it was even more obvious that he was like trying. Like if you watch those games, that's why watching the games matters. And that's why I'll say, I'm just gonna just say, like, I think I have zero problem with Giannis winning the MVP. I voted. I think if I had a vote, he would have won the MVP. I think he had a absolutely dominant regular season. He they won every game by like 15. He only played 30 minutes a game and had like 30 and 15. I mean,
like he was really putting up Shaq numbers without actually being Shaq. Right?
Yes,
like Shaq is the most dominant offensive force you've ever seen in the NBA. But then because going by again, some other people who argue was like, okay, LeBron, 17th year, led league in assists in the tougher conference that's been historically been a tougher conference. And is that qualified as MVP? But then detractors say, well, he had Anthony Davis. Giannis' next best player was Chris Middleton, and it's literally
it's all I don't know.
Every time you list what the conference is for MVP, literally you're gonna have somebody who's gonna say, okay, what about this? And then the conversation, next thing you know, it gets broken down more and more, and then next thing you know, it's just people just throwing in random names for just because of this guy or that guy.
It's true. It's true.
Overall, but I just think when you go by regular season, Giannis was Giannis' team was the best team. He was the best player on the best team, and it's just one of the things where
and he dominated. It's just we suffer more now than ever from an inability to not just think about right now. Like you're just can't think about the whole season. I don't know. It's amazing, but so I think we'll be curious to see about the Giannis thing. I think he should have won the MVP. I'm okay with that. I actually do have a feeling like he will end up staying there. I also think
I think so.
We're just having these conversations that are bullshit anyways. But I think he's gonna end up staying.
I think he's gonna stay. I just think especially look at again this. I think there are very few teams who they need to make a change right now. Most teams, because of how wild and weird this year was, have bought themselves a little bit of time to especially if you're right there, right? Milwaukee they were right there. I think because this year was so weird and everything, they probably would try to run it back, maybe do a little bit of tinkering, try to get Giannis a little bit more help. So I think they bought some time to run.
They need a creator. They don't have I mean, so if you look in the history of it, you need to look more. I think you need to. I've heard some other people say this. I think you need to look at Giannis more like a center, even though he's not a traditional center. But if you look at him more like a Shaq kind of guy, they don't have. There's never been a team that has had a Shaq that hasn't had a really good creator that has gone. You have to have that.
You have to and obviously Giannis is more mobile than Shaq in terms of that type of a game, but he's shown again that he has a glaring weakness in his game, and that he's a dominant offensive player, but when it comes to certain defensive schemes, he's much easier to stop than you. In today's
NBA game, today's NBA game doesn't have Shaq because that's not how the game is played. He is that comparison. Even though it's he's moving up and down. So I think that's interesting. Well, I know you got to go here soon. So let's.
No, you good.
All right. So I won't rush through it quite as quick, because I'm like, the Giannis thing's interesting because people were blowing up about that. I think it's a year ahead of where we're at, anyways. They're definitely they can't risk trading him. They got to keep him.
Like especially because they were right there. Like they can run it back a little bit more.
They ran into it. They ran into the toughest thing they could have run into. It was the Heat, and we had been saying it all year.
It was a bad matchup. It was like Charles Barkley said, it's all about matchups, right? And it was just all about matchup, and he just had a better team to match him up.
They should have swept. They honestly would have swept them if Giannis doesn't get hurt in Game 4, and then they like switch up the roster and everything gets switched. They probably would have swept them.
Yeah, it definitely looked like that was right there.
Well, Milwaukee will still be good next year. I mean, they'll have Brooklyn to contend with, but Milwaukee will still be good next year. So now let's move on to, we're at Game 3 now. Boston won last night. Miami's up 2-1. Like I said, I predicted Celtics in 7 just because, I don't know, I was feeling it. Like I picked Celtics in 7 in the previous series. They won. I'm like, Tatum has a chance. And then I watched Miami, and I'm like, Miami's good. But then last night, Gordon Hayward comes back. He doesn't look great, but they had like a better control to their team. Do they have a chance? What do you think?
I think they do. I think Gordon Hayward he's not one of those guys where he has like a killer instinct presence, right? Where you have to lock in on him and things like that, especially coming off an injury, minutes restriction, all those things. But I just think he also just provides a little bit of like calming presence for the team. Because Boston still is a young team, right? Like yes, they have a lot of talent. Their two best players are in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And then they're still a young team, but
Jaylen Brown had a couple of plays yesterday that was like I'm like, man, huge. This dude, like,
yeah, huge. And remember a couple of seasons ago, when Anthony Davis trades were talking, it was all these, Boston was definitely one team that was thrown around so much because they had so much to offer to get.
That's right.
So I know Jason Tatum was, I don't think Boston was really seriously considering trading him, but I know Jaylen Brown was like reportedly on the table, all these picks and all these different things, right? But like I don't Boston still has a chance. I still think that they have more talent, like just overall. But I just think Miami just is playing much better than they. I just think Brad Stevens is getting out coached by Eric Spoelstra. Like
Boston's top 3, when you think about it, it's Kemba Walker, who's a perennial all-star, very good. He's had his ups and downs in the playoffs, but
he hasn't looked good.
If he's unlocked, he is a perennial all-star. He's really good. He's had 50-point games, and then you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who I think we all agree are like very good wing players, and like most every team who wins a championship has really good wings.
And Marcus Smart has emerged.
Yeah, Marcus Smart is he's a player on a championship team. Like I like him.
I definitely was surprised at like how effective he is. Not like we knew he was a bulldog defender coming in, right? That's what he was coming in. But the fact that he's this man to shoot, being a reliable 3-point shooter and a reliable scoring option for Boston. Like
I talked about this with my brother though. Do you remember him at Oklahoma State? He scored. He used to get buckets at Oklahoma State.
He did, right? And but just when he came into the league, just that wasn't asked of him. So I think we kind of forgot that he can hoop. Like he can put the ball in the bucket. So he has a part of his game. So, but yeah, Boston has a choice, but I don't know. This is tough. One of those series like where it's a really great series because it's just one of those things where Miami has they have all these weapons, right? They're tough, they're well coached, they have they have a team mentality that if Jimmy Butler even scores 40 or 10, they still have other guys that can do it by committee, right? But then Boston has so much talent to combat that, and talent is always going to be a premium in the NBA, and they have all this talent. And once they do play, like they play yesterday, they came out aggressive. They came out, kind of desperate, but under control in a sense. Like it makes for a really great series.
I think, I know. I think this series to me has 7 written all over it. That's why I'm so happy Boston won yesterday. Miami has a lot of depth. I feel like their top heavy talent isn't as heavy as Boston's, but their depth is there. They have all these good guys. The thing that I hate doing this, but I kind of keep going with like the destiny, I just keep seeing Lakers Celtics as the finals. It's just like, it just makes so much. It's just how it always is.
You You remember that time where Jason Tatum dunked on LeBron?
Oh yeah.
And like and that went crazy. Yo, if I will bet an insane amount of money if we get a Lakers Celtics finals, LeBron is gonna get one time to put a body.
So I don't know if you heard. Yeah, he'll body him one time, right? He will. The two things about this, I keep saying that I see this, but I've been cheering for Miami. Like, like those, like when you're just cheering inside, you don't even mean to.
Yeah. Honestly, because like I don't like neither one of those teams are like my teams per se, but I found myself like yo, Miami. I'm like, yo, I'm actually on the bandwagon a bit. Like
Miami and Denver.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I owe Denver an apology because I said when the playoffs started, I wasn't a believer in Denver. I just was off on them. I owed them an apology. I was super wrong, like way off base.
Yeah.
No.
We all were. I was too. We all were.
Like, who first? Like, man, talk about talent and depth. Man, like, yo, man. Yeah, man.
So, no, they're a whole story. I want to get something real quick. So wait, what was I gonna say? So, all right. So I've been cheering in my heart for Miami. I've been cheering in my heart a little bit for Denver, but this storyline that matches up. So I think it was is it the last Kobe championship or one of the last ones? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
they beat the Rockets.
Yeah.
Or they beat the Blazers, Rockets, and then the Nuggets or something like that.
The Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, that was the 2009 championship.
Yeah, but also, didn't they play the Celtics in the finals?
Yeah, in 2010.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
I will say, obviously, again, the year's been so weird, but so I picked the Lakers to win championship early in the season, just when everything went down.
I picked the Lakers to win the championship when Kobe passed away. I was like, Lakers are winning the championship.
Yeah, right there. That right there. That's gonna be the cap. Like that's what I was gonna get at. That's gonna be the cap and the like. Just one of those things where it's like when we look at so many things that have happened, right? Like we looking for all these signs of Kobe. We look at scores at the age of 24, all these different tributes, things like that. What ultimate tribute would that be then? The Lakers winning their first championship after all these different signs that went back 10 years ago when the last one when Kobe was there. Like it's gonna be talk about a storybook ending. It's gonna be crazy.
I know, and I feel like that's happening. All right, so with that being said, let's do it real quick. I know we're currently at Miami's up 2-1. Mm-hmm. What do you think's gonna happen? Who do you got?
In the next game or in the series?
The series.
The series.
Next game is not till Wednesday, by the way. We're recording this on Sunday. We're recording this before Lakers Nuggets game 2. So they have a couple days off. They can rest a little bit. Maybe the Celtics tie it up and go 2-2. What do you think is going to happen in the series?
In the series, it's one of those things where I still feel like Boston is going to win the series.
Woo!
But I found myself cheering for Miami, though.
Yeah, that was the same way.
Like you said, I'm going to stay with Boston at 7, but I found myself really cheering for Miami.
All right,
we're really
I feel the same exact way, and I also after 2 games I was like, Miami might win this game in 5, or might win this shit in 5.
Which I mean, realistically, the way they played the first 2 games, and especially when you look at how how game 2 finished, they have a chance to really I'm not counting them out by any means.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think we're both going Boston in 7, and I'm going to say the same exact thing I said in the Toronto series. It was one reason we were both split. I said the one thing that I think Boston will win game 7 or they'll win in 7 is because they have the one guy who I think is a potential future MVP, which is Jason Tatum. Yeah. And I'm looking at this series, and I guess I'll say the same thing, although I will say if Bam Adebayo ever puts it all together, that dude is amazing.
Man, he is great. Like he is definitely arrived as not only as a big man in today's NBA and also in the East, but just as a player. Period.
No, he is he's better than I thought. I just got to be like I didn't know way better than I thought. When I'm watching him, I'm
absolutely.
Like that dude.
Me too. Absolutely.
His block on Tatum at the end of the game, that was pretty.
Yeah, I don't agree that was the great defensive play that we've seen.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. But it was phenomenal. No. Definitely one of the best, but not the best.
No, it wasn't the best. I mean, look, like we said before, we have an inability to be like, hey, that moment was great, but remember the other one? We're just like, that's the greatest thing ever, immediately.
No.
All right, so what's a bigger shock? Miami beating Milwaukee or Denver beating the Clippers?
Denver beating the Clippers.
Yeah, no doubt. Not even a question.
I think every person going back, pre-shutdown, we all said Miami was a dark horse team that was like, yo, watch out for these. But even though they're in the middle of, in the regular season, but just once they get healthy, watch out for them. The Clippers were anointed as championships by pretty much every single person
and themselves.
And them, I don't know. I'm gonna get to that in a second. Every single person that has a voice for basketball picked the Clippers to win, right? Like all these things, their defensive toughness. They have some of the best wing defenders since Mike and Pippen, which is a bunch of bull, by the way. I will admit.
Yeah, no kidding.
They have a coach. They have all these guys. They have the depth. They have the talent. Like literally, man. Every thread on Twitter when the Clippers I cannot admit I couldn't think of a single greater time on Twitter than when the Clippers lost.
That was amazing.
That would talk about some of the funniest jokes.
Bro, in real time, Dame and CJ in real time, that was awesome. That was
fantastic. Like as a basketball player, first of all, the NBA, I still believe is the best league in the world. But when you look at that night and the way those jokes were flying off and like just the way basketball Twitter came together, man, that was historic.
Well, I mean, I just feel like the Clippers created that for themselves, and they don't like. They had that attitude, and look, and I think most of them would probably admit it. Pat Beverly, I think for sure. Like, if you're gonna wear that attitude, you got to wear it when you lose. I mean, it just is how it is.
You have to, and obviously, but all basketball fans, myself included, we wanted the Clippers and the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Like, we wanted that. That was a must-see TV. We needed that, but just I want to say this about Kawhi Leonard, right? So remember, for the past couple of seasons, he's been put on his pedestal. Oh yeah, I'm not diminishing how great of a player he is, and none of that, right? But he's been put on his pedestal. He's the best. He's the best player in the NBA. He's this guy. He's that guy. He's one of the greats. All these things, but he has this thing of I don't know, if it's because of the kind of players he is, how he just kind of just shuts his mouth and just does his job, but he doesn't get the near the slander he should get. Like if he's gonna be put in that spotlight as that guy, he doesn't get nowhere near the amount of slander that he should get.
I agree. I think part of that is that he doesn't like you said, he's not vocal, so he's not like the forefront figure. But I also think he has so many examples, or my thing, because I know a lot of people are like, look, he didn't play well in Game 7. He didn't shoot well, but he did attack. The fourth quarter was atrocious from the whole team. They all gave up.
Horrendous.
They all gave up. After Kawhi got the ball stolen at center court when he tried to make the pass and it got stolen, and there was the dunk by Grant, he really gave up, and it was over. That's why I tweeted out, I was like, I want Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to be in this game till the last second. They should have to deal with this. They should not have been taken out. They took him out. I'm like, Doc, you copped him out. You should have left him in. They gave up. But I give Kawhi, I don't know if it's a pass, and maybe I fall into exactly what you're saying, but I kind of do, because it's like he has proven so many times that he is the guy who shows up. This moment's not too big for him. He looked like he was giving an effort. Like, he looked like he was driving, and look, it just was not falling. I would say that those other guys, a lot of the guys on the other team, didn't even look like they wanted the ball. They looked like.
So remember the Clippers, before the restart, they were really split about actually coming. They didn't actually really reportedly didn't want to come back. Like, but they had to kind of convince each other to come back. And no, again, I'm not saying Kawhi isn't. Yeah,
but he doesn't catch the same amount of heat. I agree. If LeBron played like that,
look, Kobe gave up a 3-1 lead. Steph gave up a 3-1 lead. The Clippers said Kawhi have to give up a 3-1 lead, right? That's really a matter. Again, I hate how this makes me sound like a LeBron apologist. Just imagine if he gave up a 3-1 lead, though.
No, you should have it sound like that. I think actually what's been said by this, which is, it's funny to say, but it's almost like, it's not that LeBron's underappreciated, but in a certain sense he is. Like, you guys don't understand. He does this year in, year out. Yeah. There is no hesitation. It's every year. He is much more clutch than people think. Yes.
Yeah. Man, look, but yeah, definitely like the Clippers supporting cast was horrendous. Like, Paul George, and again, I'm one of the guys, like, when it was reported, the Lakers trying to make it happen for him. I wanted them, but man, it's really time. Like, look at the past couple of years. Again, I'm not saying he's a bum, not by any means. I still think he's a star. He's a perennial all-star. I think he's like, if you want to put him as a superstar status, that you can argue that. But he definitely has shown that he definitely shrinks in big moments.
He's hot and cold, and he's very shrink. Yeah, no, big dude. Yeah. He looked awful in game. The thing about his game, which was so interesting, is that because he's so good and he's so talented,
Yeah,
that it's so evident when he doesn't show up. Because he like just doesn't show up at all. And like game 7, dude, he nearly broke a whole hoop from the side of the structure on a shot.
And again, that's not to say missed shots don't happen, but missing that bad.
He almost destroyed the whole.
Missing, honestly, like, missing that bad, because like, you're a shooter, so like it's just like shooter, like you miss shots, sure, but you don't miss that bad, especially.
I mean,
in certain situations,
the corner shot is tough when you're deep in the corner. You can hit the side of the backboard. The shot looks worse than the miss is because of the way it is. So I will give a little leeway there. Like if you're shooting straight on and you miss a shot to the right a little bit, it's just going to miss to the rim. It's not going to look as bad.
Which is true, yeah.
But in that big of a moment, it was also a big moment.
Terrible.
It just,
especially because I want to remind people. Paul George named himself Playoff P.
Yeah.
Nobody gave him that name. He wasn't anointed that by the media, by fellow players. He gave him.
And they talked so much shit to Dame Lillard, and so many people like Dame Lillard. So I think that really just added up. That people were like, "Yo, come on."
The Clippers were definitely like, it's one of those things where like teams that are really good, like just naturally gonna have people who dislike them just because they're so good and better than your team, right? Like it's just happened.
Right.
But because they had so much chirping and so much chips on their shoulders about pretty much we got the championship wrapped up, it's just ours. Like, nah.
Now it's kind of a fitting story that they actually didn't win and get there. In all honesty, it's like,
honestly,
yeah, it kind of does. I mean, it sucks because, like you said, as basketball fans, we did want to see Clippers Lakers. But let's not take away real quick. I love the Nuggets. Love the story of the Nuggets. Love Jokic. Love Murray. I honestly like both of them. Like I said, I was listening to this long story with the president, and they're just talking about how they developed both those young guys and how both of them are just like good people and just like good dudes. And I just think they're a good story. So I really do like them. And we got to remember, like, they were a game 7 away from making the conference finals last year. So they would have been there last year instead of the Blazers, who ended up getting swept by the Warriors. So this team is around, and if they keep those two guys together, they're a force to be reckoned with, I think, in the next couple of years. Do they have any chance against the Lakers?
They have okay. I'm not gonna say they don't have. They have a chance. Like, I just think they have a chance in turn because they have depth, they have talent. But I just think that they have LeBron and AD, and anytime like they're the best two players on the those two are better than Jokic and Murray.
Those are the two best players in the rest of the finals, in the rest of the playoffs right now. There's no two better players than them two.
That's not at all, right? So when you take those two and like they play how they play, especially when you look at how last game was, like, which last year LeBron had 15 and 12, which is a very pedestrian game for what we expect of LeBron. But AD had 30 and 10.
Yeah, 37.
Like,
he was dominating.
37 and 10, just dominant. And look, so Jokic killed the Clippers, right? Like, he had his way with them, crushed them. The Lakers are so big.
They're so much bigger.
They so physical. Like,
I think it's a bad matchup. Yeah, I think it's a bad matchup for the Nuggets.
Dwight Howard looked like the Dwight Howard of old pre-injury when he was just physical and he was just a presence. Even if he didn't have, he wasn't jumping through the gym, he didn't have the eye-popping crazy numbers. Just the fact that his presence there was able to bother Jokic. I think Jokic is a good enough player. He'll make the adjustment here, or he'll come back much more aggressive in tonight's game. But the Lakers have so many bodies to throw at Jokic to kind of even out a little bit. Like, yeah, I just think they have a chance. The Lakers are going to win the series, though.
Yeah, I think it's a bad matchup for the Nuggets. I said, I'm probably going to be cheering for them, kind of, but like watching game 1. Well, first off, historically, game 1 after the team went through a 7-game series, it's usually not good.
Yeah, I mean, they went through 2 7-game series.
Exactly to even add that up.
And they were down in both of those. Like, they had to play catch up from 3-1 in both of those series.
Right. So I think that we can watch that. I think tonight's a big one. If they, I mean, this is what they did against the Clippers. They lost game 1 pretty easily after a 7-game series, and then game 2 they were like, all right, we are going to make this a series. So I think tonight's big. That being said, I think I got Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6. I'm going to go with Lakers in 5.
Yeah. Gentleman's sweep.
Only because I just think, which again, I just think because I think the fatigue is going to eventually catch up to the Clippers. I mean, I'm sorry, the Nuggets.
Yeah.
like 2 back-to-back game 7. They had to play from behind to come back in both. I just
Yeah.
think the Lakers are so physical. They're well rested. They can wear them down with their length, and then also they're still athletic. LeBron's in advanced in the league years. Dwight Howard is advanced in league years, but I just still think they still have the athletic. They have athletic talent on the low key, and I just think they're gonna wear them down. Like fatigue is gonna set in.
I
So
think
I
you're
just think
right.
that Lakers are gonna
LeBron's
have
had a
to.
couple games in these playoffs where he's like I've been watching and like all of a sudden like he's feeling it, like his jump shot's working. And then you're reminded like when his jump shot's working and he's kind of like taking these shots that are like he's just like fucking around. Then you're kind of like, "Oh my God, when he plays like that, you can't. There's no
Which okay, like LeBron, like his game has always been poked at. Like jump shooting and free throws have been always like the two holes that people have poked at for his game his entire career, right? Which which when you look, people who love stats, like when I said this a long time ago, when it's all said and done, LeBron will probably be the greatest statistical player to ever play the game. He's gonna rank either at the top or at the top of every major
be very
statistical
close
category.
to all of them, yeah.
Like that's gonna be relevant in terms of winning. Like which you can look at that how you want to regardless, but like when he's shooting, which I will admit, he definitely falls in love with the jump shot a little bit too much. Especially he hit a couple of them do a heat check. He definitely falls in love with the
Yeah.
shot too much. Which I mean, look, he's in the 17th year. He can't jump over guys like he used to. That's cool. But when he is on though,
Oh, he's like it's unstoppable. It's the best. It's amazing. I still love watching him play, and that's why I'm like, we shouldn't like if you're a fan of basketball, which I know we still have some of them out there that watch the games. You don't take it for granted because that dude runs the floor.
man.
But
when
no, I mean no,
it's
you're
all done, it's gonna be tough. Like when LeBron leaves, like you're gonna be run. Like man, he really did that for almost 2 decades.
really for sure. And
He was arguably the best player. Pretty much like you will have people who will argue he was the best player in the NBA in year 2. Like literally, like people who legit believe that, right?
yeah.
And obviously from year 3 on, when he first made his finals appearance, he's been the best player, arguably the best player.
He's just had such a long. There's so many levels and layers to his career because it's been
We
so
won't
long.
ever. I don't think we'll ever see a player that's like this ever again. Like that's just long. Just
I think you're
that
right,
guy.
especially because of the time that his career happened. Like he happened when everything was blowing up, media wise and everything, and like he just is the most probably famous person in the world, sports wise for sure. Now I'm hoping that he passes the torch to Jokic and we get to watch Jokic for the next 15 years. Because I gotta be honest, as a basketball fan, I love watching that dude play.
Jokic, it's just something about him, right? It's just like, he just has he just seems like a really likable guy. Like,
Yeah.
he just seems like a likable guy. He seems like, he's not scared of anything. Like he definitely seems like a really good player.
They talked about how he like I think his guys weren't his teammates weren't hitting the shots and they're like, all right, you got to step it up. It's game 6. And he's like, no, what are you talking about? They're going to start hitting because he is so aware of how important it is that his teammates' confidence needs to be up. And he's like that always, which is just like, I don't know, man. I just love it. I'm like this guy, especially when we're in such a sense of like the James Harden era where it's like, jack it up. Like he's the opposite of that. Like,
yeah, he is in which people are like, especially, when you have media, his teammates, probably his coach are really telling you like, we need you to be more aggressive, we need you to take more shots, we need you to be more assertive, right? But which and instead of like, okay, which he can't do that, but he's like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna actually bring my team with me too. Like we're gonna spread the wealth a little bit. Like it's definitely like the Nuggets, man, as a team, they're gonna be one of the better teams for a while, and they're really exciting to watch. But I actually got a question for you though.
yeah.
How do you think the whole, is there going to be some kind of thing with Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic and Murray, and like just because Michael Porter Jr., he has that talent, right? Like you could argue if he was healthy, he would have been the number 1 pick in that draft that year. And when he came out after the loss, he came out and was like, basically we need to spread more. I need more shots, which is how people took it. Do you think there's going to be something to that? And like,
well, I mentioned that thing actually on here before. It was like he was young. He misspoke. I mean, well, not misspoke. He just shouldn't have said that out loud. I understood what he said. He was right. It actually something about their offense, and then it worked after that. I think if I had to take a guess in the next couple of years, and especially listening to that, like I said, that interview with the president of their team, I bet he gets traded. Not that they like actively want to trade him. They like his talent. I think he's gonna be good. If I had to guess, Jokic and Murray work so well together that if they have to cut some ties, it's going to be him.
But I also think because he is so talented, I think he's actually going to get better and better. And if he stays healthy and proves his back is not a problem anymore, you're gonna have like you can flip him into
You'll get
something
good
more
value.
You're,
Yeah.
you're gonna get serviceable pieces to fit your team a little bit better. So,
But if they
yeah,
don't trade him, they kind of might have a similar to the Westbrook Durant Harden kind of situation.
yeah, yeah. Well, which is true.
If he develops that
And
well, I think next year is the big year for him because that's the year 3
yeah,
for him, right?
yeah.
If he develops, then I think then you're starting to play those games because then you got to worry about contracts and
That
stuff.
that comparison is great, but it also is just fresh. I know my brother's he's one of the biggest OKC fans that I know. When you think about what could have been with those three guys,
Yeah, but it wouldn't have worked. Yeah, but it wouldn't have worked. I mean, you're right because all the talent, and that's what we've all been saying. Like, if they could have kept him, and we all say it, but it wouldn't have worked. Although I will say, I think the Thunder mortgaged Harden a year early. I think they could have kept him for one more year, but eventually they would have had to either pay or give up, and then they wouldn't have been able to fill around the team. I think.
yeah,
I just think it's hard to keep that three MVPs. It's hard to keep.
yeah, three, yeah,
Like,
three, yeah. Especially like when okay, again, clearly Kevin Durant was the best player of the three, but his personality wasn't.
he was the least vocal. Yeah.
Westbrook had the stronger and the more assertive personality, so that's something that he definitely needed, right? But yeah, I agree. But it's also like, man, when you look at that 2012 run, which they were kids essentially, and they were right there at the finals, that they could have, again, injuries happen, and then the contract disputes happen, and then Harden wound up getting traded, which is great for his personal achievements and career. But when you just think about what could have been if they could have tried to figure out to stay healthy and maybe run it back another year or two, there was no telling what could have happened.
No, there really isn't. It's kind of crazy, but and in that small city of Oklahoma City, just like another thing, they had those three guys. Well, Harden couldn't last there. That dude loves strip clubs, man. What is he? He can't. Can't keep him in OKC.
Yeah,
What are you?
yeah. That would have had to been like.
Oh man, man. Well, I am very excited for the stretch run here. All right, I got a couple final questions here. If you had one potential out of the final four here we got here, one finals matchup, like what's your favorite matchup that we could have here? I guess that's what I would say.
My favorite matchup, which is actually a contradiction to my pick, will be a Heat Lakers.
Yeah, I think you're right. I feel the same.
Like that will be a favorite, but my pick is gonna be is a Lakers Celtics final.
Yeah,
so.
that's same way. Summed it up there.
Yeah.
All right. Second question: Lakers Nuggets tonight here. I'll post this tomorrow morning, so the answer will already be out. But I'll talk about it in the beginning. We're gonna get our picks here. Who do you think is gonna win? The spread is 7.5, so that means the Lakers have to win by 8. Will they win, and will they win by 8?
I got the Nuggets winning tonight.
I like it.
In a close game.
I like it because I bet on the Nuggets, so I like it.
Yeah. They'll make the adjustments. It's not gonna be a blowout. It's not gonna be a blowout, but it'll be a closer game. I think 8-point spread is a good number. I think the Nuggets will come out. They'll get a W tonight, though.
I like it. That's what I like to fucking hear. Well, so I guess it all depends on how long these series go, but theoretically, Miami's 2-1, Lakers 1-0. In a week and the finals, I don't know the earliest date it could start, but I think probably a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, like a week and a half or so. Yeah, because and it'd be end of September going to October. Yep.
I'm in a sports frenzy here, man. Watching the Bears. I got an NBA playoff game tonight. The Cubs and Sox are both making the playoffs.
It's a fantastic sports day. Sundays are sacred sports days. They're amazing.
It really is. It's pretty amazing to have gone through all the bullshit we've gone through this year, but to at least as a sports fan have this all is really nice.
It feels amazing.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to catch up again to talk about what happens here in these conference finals. See if we're right. Yeah, I don't know. You got anything else? What do you think?
Just like it's gonna be a great game. The game definitely comes on much earlier now, which is great. For people who got kids, we got work in the morning, so we could definitely watch the game a little earlier, so we ain't got to stay up so late. But yeah, man, has there? This has been the purest basketball I think that we will see. Again, it remains to see how next year's going to be. How the comeback's going to be with fans and all those things. But just here, after not having basketball cut short, not having it for a chunk of the year, to have strictly pure basketball, which came out some of the best stories, some of the best guys have emerged. It's been fantastic.
It's been great, dude. It's like the question is, well, do we want fans? No, I think the fans will add to it. I think what you're saying is actually more important. It's more less than the fans being there. I think it's more about the layoff and us realizing what it was gone, what it meant. I know for me, I guess I'm like so deep like into hoops right now. I always have been, but I guess it's like right now. Maybe it is just like getting it taken away for a little bit and then realizing, oh, this is just what we love. Like,
yeah, we just love it so much. Like, because there have always been talks about having the NBA season cut down a little from 82 games down a little bit because of fatigue. People, some teams just kind of give away a lot of games. It's gonna happen. It's a long season. They're gonna take nights off. It's what it is. But like just seeing how important we really enjoy it, I definitely think as a society we took sports for granted for a little bit because we just got used to seeing X amount of games on every single day.
No, it's I'd almost take a lot of these, especially baseball too. We're talking. I would almost cut these seasons down to like 50 games or whatever it is, and let's just play like 2 seasons in the year. I'm like almost more down. I'm like,
that would be fantastic. Isn't the WNBA season kind of like
they only play like 3 months a year, but it's because a lot of those girls play overseas.
They play overseas, yeah. Like just as a sports junkie and a sports purist, like it's fantastic to have it back.
Well, it's pretty great as always. It's awesome chopping it up on a Sunday here on a Bears victory Sunday.
It was nice. Let's see if we can. There were 2 games that we definitely gave all of us a heart attack about. But let's see if we can keep it up.
Now let's see if we can get a kicker that can make a kick and make me some money because they're fucking me up right here, man.
Man, bro.
Oh man. All right. Well, I appreciate. Appreciate you as always. Let's talk soon about all this.
Appreciate you having me, man. Always, man.
You already know. You the man. All right.
Got you, bro.
Go Bulls and Bears. I don't know.
Right here. Go Bulls and Bears. Like, just. I don't know. I don't know. All right, bro.
All right, man. Be easy.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The David Lopez Show. This was episode 99, guys. So, with that being said, stay tuned for episode 100 because it's coming soon and it's going to be an exciting one. I promise. I'm excited to have it. To have made it. I'm excited to have made it to 100 episodes. Yeah, I don't know what. Cheers to the next 100 and we get to 200, and then the next 100 we get to 300, the next 100 we get to 400. You know what I mean, guys. We'll be around for a while. We'll be making new content. I'll be talking to you guys. Just to do it because I like it. I'm just gonna talk. I'm just gonna keep talking like I'm doing now. I don't know. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in again. Once again, thedavidlopez.com, passionparkent.com. If you're listening on any of the podcast apps, just subscribe, comment, share, like, repost. Means a lot, means the world. I appreciate you all, and I will be seeing you soon for episode 100.